All right. Good morning. Good morning. Keller Williams, Greater Metropolitan, and welcome to our first sales meeting of a new quarter. June and Q2 are in the rear view, as well as Independence Day weekend. I hope all of you had an awesome time enjoying the great weather that held out just long enough, and we are getting some summer showers this morning and a little bit more throughout the week. So hope everyone had a great weekend. Excited to kick off the quarter together and kick off our sales meeting series for the third quarter. As you heard, almost every day and in innumerable ways, the shift is coming, and or it's already here, right? Shifts work a lot like recessions. You're in them for a period of time until you then announce that you are in them. So we've been operating in a shifting market for the past several months, and we will continue to for the foreseeable future to best equip everyone in our company to navigate that and to maximize the opportunity that the shift brings. Market share is taken in market shifts and market downturns. And so that's what we want to do. And then wealth is built in the upswing. So let's take advantage of the opportunity here. So for the next 12 weeks, we're going to have a deep dive with each of the 12 tactics to dominating a shifting market from Gary Keller's book, Shift. So today we're going to hear from Eric in just a few minutes. Before we get to that, let's dive in and throw out some happies. So happy birthday to all of these wonderful individuals that we get to be in business with and call our colleagues. We're excited and hope all of you find a special and safe way to celebrate your birthday if you haven't already. And our happy Kellerversaries. So all these folks are anniversarying their joining Keller Williams, either starting their real estate career with us or bringing their business to our brokerage. So excited for them to do another lap around the sun with us here at Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, and hope that the next 12 months will be your best 12 months in real estate. And then as we start every week, team, a little revisit of our belief systems, the Y4C2Ts. And today I want to hit communication. Seek first to understand. I'm going to hit this in two different ways. One, in a shifting market, and a shift like the one that we're going to go through, which is a shift related to units, right? We're going to see volume and value, right? Average home price stay high for or continue to appreciate, albeit at slightly less of a rate than maybe it has in the last 24 months. But the number of deals are likely to thin out in the back half of this year, first half of next year, depending on when the economic recession manifests itself. With that being said, as deals get tighter, they get more and more and more valuable. And when you are working in a heavily abundant, rapid market, a deal fallout could easily be replaced. If you have a listing and falls out of contract, it's going to be back under contract in 48 hours. As we move into a thinner unit capacity for the market, which we're already seeing, June was down 10% in units, or for Northeast Ohio. Preliminary numbers, all of Northeast Ohio was down about 10% in units. Communication is going to be really, really important. And so we want to have really tight systems around communication. We want to be really laser focused on key dates. And we also need to have some self-awareness when it comes to communications, that if we are not that guy or that gal who is always on it, look for opportunities for leverage. And so we're going to hear more about that throughout this shift series. And then today, communication also very important in terms of self-talk and self-communication and what we explore and understand for ourselves. And Eric's going to talk a little bit about mindset, getting in touch with reality, get real, get right today. All right, guys, some upcoming training. All of you a couple weeks ago got the training calendar for the month of July. So you can see our Know Your Shift series, 12 Tactics for Tough Times, kicking off this month. For anyone who has joined the Market Center within the last 12 months or it's been a while since you've done a transaction, I encourage you to check out Navigating the Transaction this Thursday, noon in Rocky River. This is going to be, this is a great session that involves our title partners, our mortgage partners, our productivity coaching partners, to take everybody through during a transaction. What is everything that needs to happen? How do I leverage mortgage? How do I leverage title? How do I get this thing done as tight and smooth as possible? And then you will notice that the next week is completely cleared out so that everyone will have the opportunity to be a part of our summer mastermind. So we have the fullest of slates for that day. We'll be getting together at Mayfield Country Club and around 10 a.m., doing some mixing, doing some mingling, meeting some vendors, having some nosh, and experiencing an action-packed, really dense, really high quality series of masterminds and panels, capped off with a keynote from a hometown hero here in Northeast Ohio, Maurice Claret. So guys, if you have not got your ticket, please know that this is now going out to everybody in the universe. Get your ticket now. You have all gotten emails about it. You've gotten texts about it. Please take advantage of it so that no one is left sitting on the outside wondering how this live event went. You get to be there and experience it yourself. And then starting this month on Wednesday mornings, join us on our KWGM Agents Facebook group as we explore a new little training snippet and platform for us called Training in 10. And it's just where we're going to quickly highlight a specific tactic or strategy or methodology that one of our top agents is using. Quick 10-minute real dense sound bites of how to improve your business or how to tweak specific things in your business or grow your business or serve your clients. So be on the lookout for that, and we will be excited to bring you a little bit more content that way. And then finally, at the end of this month, mark your calendars for the Edgewater Beach Cookout. This will be our summer luau for 2022. And if you are interested in potlucking with us, if you have a summertime dish, if you've perfected something over this past holiday weekend that you want to replicate and bring to bear for all of your friends and colleagues here at Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan, please do that. Please sign up. Always love to taste all the fantastic dishes that our agents can come up with. And then for the month of August, mark your calendars now for Mega Camp. That will be August 23rd and 24th. So thousands of the top agents throughout the world will descend on Austin, Texas for 2 days of very intense development training, masterminding, and direct instruction from Gary Keller. So if it's been a while since you've made it to a conference, to an event, if you've never been, if you've joined since the pandemic and we haven't had a mega camp in 2 years, I encourage you to check this out. Grab the link in the chat, take advantage of it. It is worthwhile. And then if you want to pre-order your first home, this is a great book as a part of your buyer consultation or onboarding process with a first-time home buyer. It is a great piece of content to understand and master and communicate on your own. But it is another example of looking at the environment that we are in, looking at the environment and who the purchasers will be in the next decade It will be the millennials, it will be Gen Z, and it will be a lot of first-time home buyers as home ownership shifts from the boomer group into the younger generations. Being able to navigate first-time home buyer transactions will be hypercritical. And so our leadership and ownership at the highest international level has said, hey, listen, let's equip people with a resource, just like we did when people wanted to become millionaire real estate agents, just like when people wanted to figure out how to focus on their one thing better, when people wanted to be millionaire real estate investors, when people wanted to navigate a shift. You see the theme here. We are getting the resources that we need all the way from the top here in Keller Williams, and we are thrilled about that. Speaking of getting what you need, we have, as always, some amazing opportunities or updates from our amazing partners. So I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Sean Hadley and Don Jarecki this morning, or maybe just Don. Is Sean, what's Sean? Sean still recovering from the weekend? Oh, there he is. There he is. Morning, guys.
Morning. Yes, I am still recovering, but yes, I am here. So there we go. But
hey, I just want to let you know I was ready. Sean emailed me, said he might be late, so I had his great speech ready to go. But there he goes. Take it away, Sean.
They just jumping in, like
take it away.
Go for it, Don. After you, please.
I got nothing, man.
I was just going to be short and sweet on my side. Just as far as last week, somewhat of a rally. We saw rates improve, an 1/8 to 1/4%, depending on the mortgage product. And what I was just going to mention with the shift, what we're seeing a lot more accepted offers for FHA and seller concessions. So more or less just, whether you're on the buying side or the listing agent side, if you need a little brush up with an offer coming in and you just want to know the pros and cons, or a little refresher on VA or FHA stuff, just give us a call. But without further ado, Mr. Jarecki.
Now, with this little rally, we got any interest rates here too. If you have a listing that has not sold in the first 15 minutes, it was put in the MLS, and you do are considering a price drop, maybe reach out to Sean and I first, and maybe let us run a scenario where we get some seller paid points to buy an interest rate down for a consumer. You keep that thing at that list price, and the seller pays some points, which will be less than the price drop you might be taking. The borrower is going to be in a better position payment wise with that permanent interest rate buy down. So throw it out at us. Let us run some numbers and see if it makes sense. And let's help you sell some houses.
I love that. I love that, guys. One of the segments that we're going to talk about in this Know Your Shift series is about getting creative with financing, and not like in the ways that Enron did, but in the ways that guys like Sean and Don can help you navigate what's happening and changing with interest rates, what's happening and changing. Like, for some of us, we've never, maybe never listed, or it's been years since we've listed or sold a house where seller concessions are even part of the conversation, right? And we're coming back to that, and that's perfectly fine as long as we know what it is and we can communicate it clearly to our clients. So please, 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 please take advantage of All right, up next, our friends at GM Title and Escrow. We have with us this morning from there. Anybody?
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, hey, Jade, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Today, I am just going to kind of talk about an owner's policy and why we should keep it and what it does. So 2 really good reasons. First off, if you bought a house within the 10 years, you could send us the owner's policy from that previous purchase, and we will give you what's called a reissue credit. And usually that reissue credit is up to 20% of the policy. The policy is based on the purchase price. So once you start to get to those higher number purchase prices, 20% is huge. Once again, all we need is a copy of that owner's policy, and we will note our file to issue that. Another great reason to keep your owner's policy, keep it handy with the deed, the original deed, which we do send it with, is because if there are any prior owner liens on there, prior owner mortgage, break in the chain of title, anything like that, sending us the owner's policy is a very quick, easy way to have that issue resolved. our underwriters will look at it and they'll be like, all right, someone else already insured over it. And that way they are comfortable doing so as well, that, no one will come for them and claim a, fraud or anything like that against them. So 2 really good reasons to do it: saves money for your clients and saves hassle, time, and headaches, possibly later on the road. You should get the owner's policy about 1 to 3 months, I'd say, after the deal has closed. It takes a little bit to come back, but we will send it with the original deed. And if you guys have any questions about this, or, if the owner's policy can resolve one of their issues, let me know, reach out.
All right. Thank you, as always, for that info and for being available. Appreciate that. All right. No Gina or Jessica today, so we are gonna barrel right into our main training for the day, led by our very own Mr. Eric Uchbar, who has been in real estate for, we at 18 years yet?
Almost. This
Almost.
December.
Almost. So everything that happened starting in 2004 with prices shooting up and then a market coming back down and going back up over 10 years, Eric has been in it and seen it from about every angle, as a realtor serving clients, as an investor, and then for the last 6 years. Are we at 6 years yet from a productivity coaching standpoint?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then 6 years as the productivity coach in our Pepper Pike office, helping, I'm looking at who's on this call, helping several of us grow our business, grow our investment portfolios, and protect our mindset. So no one better in our ecosystem to lead this conversation than Mr. Eric Uchbar. So Eric, I'm going to let you take it away, sir. Thanks for your help this morning.
I appreciate it. So today I'd love to be interactive. I know it can be tough on Zoom, but I will be asking some questions. So make sure you have your chat box up, and or when the time comes, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll unmute and go from there. The first thing that I wanted to start off with was painting a little bit of a picture of what the shift looked like last time it happened. And I will tell you this, you're going to hear a lot over the next several months about, we've heard of this shift for the last 6 years, 7 years, we've been predicting it. And I will tell you, the majority of the time, I'm not saying that anyone who predicted it was wrong. We just don't know when it's going to happen. We just know whatever happens, it will correct itself. And the reality is this: I heard this from someone years ago, and it struck me so hard. It's very true. I want everyone to write it down. Markets always seek their averages. Markets always seek their averages. So yeah, the reality is, as a general rule of thumb, are we above average or below average as far as sales prices go? It's pretty obvious that we are above average. Keep in mind as well, a correction could be back to a normal market. So I'd love to tell you to, lead generate 10 hours a day and hit the panic button and go, full on. And if that's the tactic you want to take, go for it. I want to be very clear, though, it's not all doom and gloom yet. It could be, it may not be. We have no idea yet. But I will tell you, the markets will seek their averages. So what I want to do is, again, paint this picture of, I wrote some items down that might seem foreign to a lot of us. So the first thing that I remember when I first started off, the average listing agreement was for 1 year. And I would say probably 30 to 40% of the time, they were either getting renewed or they were actually expiring. Paint that as a picture for yourself. Here's a big one. Most agents did not want to take a listing. They would rather take a buyer than a listing. If you coach with me, I'm a big advocate of our pipeline system, and it works very well. Many agents have been telling me over the last year, Eric, I just don't even want another buyer. Like, I'm not interested in them. I have enough of them. I am completely slammed. I've got way too much going on when it comes to that. Where back years ago, everyone wanted buyers because you could find them a home very quickly. Give me 1 second. I'm just changing around my screens. Okay, another one. Here's one we're going to talk a little bit about today. Constant poor us attitudes. We had constantly people going to us, friends and family going, oh my gosh, you're in real estate. Are you okay? You know, can you feed the family? Can you do whatever it is? Or, you know, do I have to buy you dinner tonight when we go out? We're going to talk a little bit more about how to handle that if that comes. Another thing that I found out, or another experience I had here. Sorry, my phone's ringing and I think it shut down my screen. Okay, back to that. Here was another one. Why would anyone buy in this market? We constantly heard that. This was also really big with investing. Many of you have heard my story of investing and how when you're investing in a down market, everyone thinks you're crazy, and everyone, including your family and friends, are going, what are you doing? The market's not going to correct itself. We deal with that often in the how to handle that in the investing side of it. But yeah, we're not investing in price, we're investing in value, as you all know. Here's another odd item that I noticed. Years ago, when we would show buyers homes, we would actually, first off, we would like talk to them on a Monday and they would say, hey, like maybe next week we'll go out and see 3 or 4 homes. By that time, we were actually disqualifying all 4 of those homes and showing them 3 or 4 completely new listings because there were 3 or 4 better listings. It actually took longer to get a buyer under contract back then than it does now. Right now, buyers are going, show me a house. I'll see 3 of them. I'll offer on 2 of them, probably get none of them. Where, you know, back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, again, we were showing homes, and by the time we were about to write an offer, 3 more would show up. And in the morning, we would all of a sudden have 3 or 4 more to show, in that we're actually in better condition and better homes. So yeah, here's another one. Sellers were constantly upset. Sellers wanted open houses 3 times a weekend. There were usually 1 or 2 buyers that would show up, and these houses were on the market for 6 months or 7 months. Very often, we would only get 2 or 3 buyer opportunities at those times. Also, we would be constantly, and this is probably, if there's anything you're going to hear that we should really sharpen our skills on, understanding our scripts around price adjustments, number 1, and number 2, understanding how to price a home. When in a normal market, even not even just an appreciating market, it is so important that you're hitting the price within 1 to 2% of where it needs to be. We can never accurately 100% predict what a price is going to be, although we can come as close to the bone as possible. So making sure we understand how to price a home. The best way to do that is to really stay on top of what is happening in your MLS or in your neighborhood, and also going out and touring homes. Super important to do. So I want you to think about those items that I just said. What are some possible ahas that you had? So again, I'll go quickly through them. Most agents did not like to take listings. Do we have that? No. Constant poor you attitudes? No. Everybody's telling you, if you're a realtor, oh my gosh, you're probably a millionaire. Why would you buy in this market? No, we're not hearing that right now. Took more time with buyers than before. Well, I guess that one, we do have quite a bit of time with buyers, but not before they offer. The reality is, if you go through every one of these items, it is the complete opposite of what we are actually seeing back then. So again, that shift has not happened. We're predicting it to potentially happen in the upcoming future. I just heard Sean say something about FHA loans are being accepted. I didn't know that that was a thing anymore. So I guess that we are entering some type of shifting market. So anyways, the next item I want everyone to write down is shifts happen gradually, then suddenly. Shifts happen gradually, then suddenly, meaning we're all of a sudden going to wake up one day and go, wait a second, we just had a listing that took such and such days. I just listed a house in Solon, a really nice home, had 20 people come through. We have an offer. We're going to see where that lands, but we're not seeing like we used to. one weekend we would be like, yep, we have 5 offers on Monday. We're not feeling that type of heat anymore. So we do see that things are starting to slow down. Again, we still have an offer first weekend on the market. That's not a terrible thing. Let me go back to my notes here. All right, so I want to ask, what actually determines price? Who knows what the answer is? What actually determines price? This is in all markets, not just the real estate market.
Demand, the buyers.
Thank you. There's also another half of that, demand and
Supply.
that's it, supply and demand. Now, very often when we get into these crazy charts, crazy statistics, we're going to do some math in a little bit. The reality is this, it all comes down to supply and demand. When we are pricing homes, it is essential that we know in all markets, you have to be the best value on the market for a buyer to buy. That doesn't mean that you have to be the cheapest on the market. You have to have the most value, meaning if you have a pool, you can be priced above the neighboring home. But it's important that we understand that we are going to have to be the best priced home on the market. Right now, we have 10 buyers going after one home. In the opposite market, we're going to have 10 sellers going after one buyer. That's what it used to feel like. So be aware of what that's going to be. Something else I wrote down that I think we should all understand in a shifting market. I'm preparing this and using this immediately. I learned this last week. We all kind of know this. It's one of those things we all know, but we don't actually pay attention to it. So you can write this down. If it is said up front, it is an expectation. If it is said afterwards, it's an excuse. So I'll say that again. If it's said up front, it is an expectation. If it is said after, it's an excuse. What that means is we go, no, trust me, I've sold 3 homes in this neighborhood for $250,000. Your house will sell immediately. Don't worry about it. What we should be looking at is saying, Mr. and Miss Seller, I've sold 3 homes for over $250,000 in the neighborhood, and I'm hearing that there's a shift potentially coming. We don't know when and if that's going to happen. Although if I do come to you in 30 days or 2 weeks or a week and a half and say, we don't have the activity we need in a shifting market with higher interest rates, and by the way, just a boatload of people have already moved. Nobody's really talking about that, but there's just a lot of people that moved. They aren't going to buy a house again this year, right? So sometimes we just have to say, hey, guess what? We don't have the buyer activity that we have. We may need to do a price adjustment versus just going, trust me, I can sell it. Don't worry about it. I sold 3 other homes. Nothing's happening. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Now you just have an upset seller and you're going, yeah, sorry, the market's shifting. I just need, I priced it wrong and I overpromised. Putting that cautionary idea out for the seller is going to be important. So anyways, back to a seller's market, pretty simple. I'm going to explain this for everyone, but I think most of us know this already. A market that's a seller's market just means that the demand is higher than the supply. In a buyer's market, we have way too much supply and not enough demand. We're going to talk about what changes supply and demand and how a lot of different items are affected in that. But we're actually going to do, it should be on your page 9. If you have the packet along with us. If not, we're going to talk about what's called an affordability index, and we can actually do the math here together. So the equation is actually this. It's affordability index equals median income divided by required income to qualify for conventional mortgage on median price. So you don't even have to write that down, and then we multiply by 100 because it's an equation. But I'll give you a real example here. Let me share my screen. I'm going to need to be a host.
Try again, Eric. It should be good now.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, so here's what I just rattled off for you. Here's an example. Median income equals, let's say, 69.3. I did the math. If you go to the Ohio Census Bureau, you can actually pull this right up. I'm just doing it for all of Ohio right now. Our median income in Ohio, you can click on the different states and you can go into different housing items, but I would recommend if you're going to use this, do this in your own market, not just generally for Ohio. But this will give you an idea of where to go. Again, you just go to census.gov and find this out. But we have a $58,000 median income. Let me go back to our numbers. So your median income here, wish I could type in there, would be $58,116. I ran the numbers at a $200,000 median price home. That means our mortgage amount, they're asking for what you are borrowing here. In that calculation, with a 20% down loan would be $160,000 loan amount. So this is going to be 160. Again, this is 200, and your top number is 58,116. That would leave us with required income, which is 25% of 160,000 would be here. Leaves us with 40,000. And then our affordability index is going to be 40,000 divided by, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. Median income, 58,116 divided by 40,000. I'm going to repeat that. 58,116, which is our top number here, divided by 40,000 times 100 turns out to be 145 index. The reality is this: we're trying to find a balanced market. It's going to be a 100% level. This is a general rule of thumb that we can kind of take samples throughout the year and look at. If you want to challenge yourself to do this once a month, it will give you a good idea of when the market's shifting and why it is. But this kind of explains here affordability index, people who can afford the median price home and median price, the actual price of the home. When it's less than 100, that's going to be a buyer market. When it's over 100, it's going to be a seller market, which is still where we are at. So yeah, that's where we're at. Anybody have any questions on that? I know that I ran through it pretty quick and that can be a little bit confusing there. Go ahead and type in the chat and we can go into it at the next stop we have in the meeting here. All right, so let's continue on. So the next item that we, excuse me, want to talk about is how to handle this meltdown feeling that we're going to be having. Many of us are going to experience, excuse me, I have this cough that's lingering. We are going to be seeing this and feeling from our family and friends. Did you sell any homes? What's going on? How is it working? I'll never forget when I was 19 years old and getting started, my dad coming home every day and he would just ask me, Eric, did you sell any homes today? Did you sell any homes today? And like, I finally had to go to my mom and be like, tell him to stop asking me about how many homes I sold. It's a rough market. I'm just starting out. I'm 19. I will get there. But we have to understand they don't see it that way. They're just asking how things are going. And we're going to talk a little bit more here in a moment of how to stay away from that feeling and how to make sure that it doesn't have to affect us. Something that I remember Jim Rohn saying, he said, experts have always accurately predicted 10 out of the last 2 economic shifts. What he's doing is making a joke, pretty much saying that there's always this massive shift that's going to break out. We don't know what's going to happen, but pay attention to what the reality of the market is today. So we're going to go into what we call the 6 truths. I want everyone to write these 6 truths down. So
Eric, before we hop in there, I think, you know, I want to hit on what you talked about where, like, you know, people are like, oh, did you sell a house today? Or what's happening in the market and this, that, and the other thing.
Sure.
The last 24 months have been the best 24 months in the last 20 years, which makes them the best 24 months in the history of real estate. It's basically in line with right before the great financial crisis in 08-09 in terms of number of units trading. So what we have to understand is we have not built enough homes. There are not enough homes to sell. People who have bought in the last 24 months without a life event are unlikely to sell and buy again. And so the total water level for what is available from a transaction standpoint will go down. I made the comment at the beginning of the call, total units, total closings, preliminary numbers for June for all of the MLS were down 10%, which means there are about 54 to 5,500 units traded in the month, which is down 10% from last year, but is directly in line with 2019. And so whenever we hear, and the rest of the year will follow that trend, we will not be seeing the market +5, +10, +20% in closings. It'll be very in line with what was the best year in 10 years, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the when real estate hits the news, and whenever Cleveland.com has an article that home sales in Cleveland are down 15% in the third quarter, just know that they were not reporting that they were up 25% last year. And so we as realtors, whether it's in our personal lives with the people closest to us and that care about us, or with our clients, to understand that the total economic value of the market is substantially higher than it was in 2019 because homes have appreciated 25%. So if we sold the same as what we sold then, it'd be like getting a 25% raise. So, and I guess I say that to say this, I talk about these numbers a lot, and it's not to scare anyone. It's only to provide perspective on where we're going. And if anyone ever needs clarification or wants to know like where the silver lining is in any of the numbers that we're talking about as a company, I'm more than happy to provide that, because there's no concern amongst the top agents in the country that we're going to be able to make a lot of hay in the next 36 months.
Yeah. Yeah. We did have a question that I do hear floating around there from time to time, and it's, do we see another 2008 happening? The answer is, we don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I think it's highly, highly unlikely that we're going to see some type of crazy crash like that. I can tell you one thing for sure: we are not going to have the crash for the same reason or whatever downturn. We had a horrible, horrible time of people getting loans that could not afford the loans, or they couldn't afford them as soon as their payments changed. That's what caused that. And we saw that drastically happen very quickly. So I don't see that happening. Although if it does, I can tell you real estate agents not only survived, a lot of them thrived during that time. So there's nothing wrong with markets shifting. And that's what we're going to be talking about in these 6 truths. And, just like Mike said, like, just because, they're reporting we're 10% down, we're still 25% up from the year before. And not everyone's talking about those types of things. Regardless, how many units did you say transferred, Mike? What was that?
It should be around 5,500 for the month. The official numbers will be out at the end of the week.
So if I take 1% of that per month, 50 homes a month, I think I'll be okay. In a downward market.
I think you'll survive.
That's exactly it. And that's what we have to be paying attention to. We don't have to worry about if the market's going up when it's going down. We have to figure out what opportunities are out there for our buyers and sellers, making sure we're delivering that, and transactions will still happen. So that's where we're going to be talking a little bit more on the positive side of whatever this turns out to be. So revisiting the 6 truths, you can write that down. 6 truths. Number 1, markets shift. This is a way of life. Markets shift. This is a way of life. Again, markets always seek their averages. Markets will move. It's never stagnant. There's a great video on how power shifts from TED Talks. I'd recommend everyone watches that and understands it. And one of the things about power is it's never stagnant. It just shifts. It moves. That's part of the way life is. Number 2, when markets shift up, both reactive and proactive lead generation techniques work. So I'm going to say this again. When markets shift up, both reactive and proactive lead generations techniques work. When markets shift down, only proactive works. When markets shift down, only proactive works. We have watched many, many, many agents ride this wave even if you were doing the same amount of units that you were 5 years ago, your income has gone up drastically because the average price range has gone up. We've seen that through a lot of agents. What they will have to understand is if prices start to go down, so will their income unless they do something on top of it. And that's okay. We call that, different levers of lead generation. If all you're doing is being reactive and saying, hey, whoever comes and shoots me a text and I'll show them a house, then I'll sell them a home. That will work. Although if we need to go deeper and deeper into some other models of doing more opens, by the way, I'm hearing success at open houses. We are seeing, again, buyers that are being redug up that we haven't talked to in 6 months are going, hey, now that, I can get my FHA loan accepted, I'm going to jump back in here. So remember, we have to be worrying about how we're going to be proactively lead generating. Now, the one challenge I give everyone, we're talking about all this doom and gloom on this call today. If we're wrong and the market doesn't shift, would it hurt to be a little bit proactive on your lead generation? Probably not. I think we could all do that, right? And we can still increase our income. It is based upon taking the 5 deals out of the 50,000 that Mike was referring to. That's what we need to be doing. I'm sorry, 5,000 that Mike was referring to. We just need to be taking a handful of them. Number 4, we're on number 3. Make no mistake, when the market shifts, new strategies are required. Make no mistake, when the market shifts, new strategies are required. So what did we see back in 2008, 9, and 10? We watched agents all of a sudden having a ton of activity in expireds and for sale by owners. You could do whatever you wanted there. It's been very tough recently because for sale by owners would put their houses under contract. Even if they weren't at the highest price, they were putting them under contract immediately. And expireds, if you found an expired recently, chances are, not always, chances are the majority of them were expiring for a good reason. Either the condition was wrong or the seller couldn't sell it for whatever reason. So my point being, we're going to have to look at what are those new strategies that are coming up. Number 4, you can put your faith in the theory of equilibrium. You can put your faith in the theory of equilibrium. Now, the reality is this: what is the theory of equilibrium? It's what we've been talking about all day today. Markets seek their averages, right? What goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up. So having your faith in that will help you. Number 5, the issue is not so much the shift, but how long the lag or the buyer's market continues before equilibrium is hit. I will repeat that. The issue is not so much the shift, but how long the lag or the buyer's market continues before the equilibrium is hit. So what they're saying is, on that downturn, you're having faith that, hey, it's not always going to happen. And trust me, I will tell you, I remember when I started in 2005, it was already here. We saw it in Cleveland, Ohio. I remember driving down plenty of streets and half the houses were literally foreclosed. It was unbelievable. Like every third, you would see the stickers on them. It was hard to have faith in the equilibrium then. Every time you turned the news on, it was horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible. Keep in mind, if that does happen, make sure you are prepared to start investing in real estate. There are going to be unbelievable opportunities if that ever happens again. So be aware of that, and don't be not prepared. Don't be blowing your money on things you don't need. Make sure you're staying true and figuring out what you have to do. On the other note of that, with the theory of equilibrium, and when a shift happens, one of the bigger things that we have to be aware of, if you have been sailing really high and doing very well, I'm going to encourage you to look at your finances and see, is there anything that you can cut out of your finances now and make sure you're prepared ahead of time? I know when COVID hit, I heard from a MAPS coach, one of their teams, a larger team, was spending something like $7,000 a month on Starbucks. They had to cut that out. It got out of control very quickly. It was a very large team and they were over there constantly. They just kept sending somebody over, and before they knew it, they were going, wait, how did we get that far out of control that quickly? So there's hopefully nobody's spending that type on Starbucks, but hopefully we do have some other items that we can be looking at and going, where can we reduce? What can we take out? and what can we help with? So,
Hey, Eric, real quick, just a little
Yeah.
historical backdrop as we talk about being prepared.
mhm,
That preparation, the longest recession, and I'm going to take the full economic backdrop, right? We're going to zoom out from the real estate market, but the longest economic recession lasted for 18 months. 18
Yeah.
months. And so, and the trend historically over the last half a dozen recessions that we have had, which are normal economic cycles, right, for regions and countries in the world. But you have 18 months at the longest on the way down, and then 8 to 10 years of economic growth following it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so we're going to talk the session on the 19th. This session on the 19th is going to be focused on expense management, because if we can aggressively curtail, right, our expenses, let's say by some windfall, we had a growth in the GDP in the second quarter, we will not technically be in a recession. It is then very likely that the recession will begin in 2023, right? But if we have 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever runway to get our expenses in line to thrive through the dip, buy up the dip, and then, for the next decade, there's tremendous growth potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to shake fear into anyone, although I will tell you, you will be so upset with yourself if you're going, geez, we're making 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month right now. And I remember when those used to be able to be done, and now I have 0 pending sales. You're going to go, why was I so wasteful with my money? So be very careful, make sure you're protecting your bank account, and make sure that you're prepared for those times, because that is when you can do some great things in investing, and also be at peace when and if this comes. So number 6 we're on. In a downshift, it's all hands on deck time. In a downshift, it's all hands on deck time. I will tell you, there were a lot. I didn't understand it because I was so young and new into the market when it happened last time, but everyone was panicking and going, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do? I remember Mike Ferry, he's a famous real estate coach, saying, for the last 5 years, all you guys thought you were amazing at what you did. And he goes, now you're really being tested by how you have to actually work. And I would encourage us all to go, wait, what can we do to prepare? Because again, even 1 or 2 extra deals per month can really make a difference in your business. And that's where you need another lever of lead gen that we talk about. Don't just be working your database. Don't just be working your farm neighborhood. Don't just be working a new group. Figure out one more way to pad it. So let's pause right here. Do we have any questions about what we've talked about? And I'd love to see if there's any ahas that we have had. If not, we can keep moving on. All right, let's keep moving on. So what we are going to do is we're going to break down on each one of these shifts some notes that actually Gary Keller has for us. So very important that the condition of the market does not have to equal the condition of your business. So you should write that down. The condition of the market does not have to equal the condition of your business. He also tells us it's a myth to believe that the market is the sole determinant of your success in profitability. Has anyone ever in our market center doubled their transactions in a year? The answer is yes, absolutely. It's possible for all of us to do that, and we've done it with intentionality. If we can do that in an up market, we can also do it in a down market. If the market crashes 50%, all you have to do is double. And I know that that's a big number for some of us. We would have to figure out a way to double the amount of profitability we have. I am also being very careful of saying profitability and not just units. We can double our units without doubling our profitability. We can also stay at the same amount of units and actually increase our profitability. We can talk about that. Well, we're going to be talking about that in upcoming Tuesday meetings. The market is the next one. Agents succeed in all markets. buyer, seller, or neutral markets. I remember Michael came when I talked with him back in 2007 or 2008. It was a downward spiral market. Almost every agent was down, and he was so upset that he was down. He went from 40 million the previous year to 39,900,000. He missed his mark by $100,000. He said he was about to just buy a house himself to make up the difference. The reality is, though, he figured out a way. He was not going to let the market determine what he was doing. He was going to determine what he was doing by a plan. Take a plan of action. Go to business planning clinic here in the next couple of months, understand what's going to happen and take action immediately. Here's another big one that we have to remember. People will buy and sell homes in all markets. Only the number of units and sales volume changes. So take a pause on that. If you are panicking and hitting the panic button, remember, people are still going to be buying and selling real estate for time to come. Even with lower units and lower volume, there is plenty of business for every agent who wants to go after it. The other thing we haven't even talked about, guess what? There's going to be a lot of agents who are just falling out of the business as well. If it's not super easy and it's right in front of them, it's not cheap to be a realtor. It's cheap compared to the majority of businesses out there. I will say that. We're going to have agents that fall out. Don't be one of them. And guess what? You have a bigger market share. Here's a big one that I love that's in here. Every market has good deals. Down markets just have fewer great deals. There are fewer homes in the market that are priced correctly to sell and are in great condition. These properties are sold the quickest. Condition is going to be a very important item. The amount in a down market that I would watch sellers have to reduce their price. And they would, I haven't heard this. This is a big aha for me. I used to hear all the time, well, Eric, I'll sell my home, but I'm not going to give it away. I've probably not heard that in the last 2 years, which is super rare. The entirety of my career, that is the biggest line from every seller, even when the market was good in 2016, 17, 18. Eric, I'm going to sell it, but I'm not going to give it away. That is a common phrase in a downturning market. And, Charlie Munger talks about this all the time in a bias. One step down is equal to 10 times the same equivalent of one step up. Meaning if you were to lose, let's look at this. If you were to gain $10,000, that's the equivalent of losing $1,000 in your mindset. That means it hurts the equal amount that you gain. So you need 10 times the amount to have that excitement out of it, or that same level of excitement or brain activity from it. Let's keep moving here. All right, we're going to go through one more item and then that will be it. So when we talked about making sure that when the market shifts, new strategies are required, we should be writing down all 10 of these bullet points. Number one, shift your mindset to one of opportunity. There are two types of agents out there, and I watch this happen. I watch investors do this all the time. Markets down, the prices are very cheap. All of a sudden, same individuals are looking at a house. One sees an opportunity, one sees an obligation. We need to be shifting our mindset to one of an opportunity. Number two, identify and go after the motivated buyers and sellers. Many of you have a pipeline and you are looking at your motivation every single day of your clients, that is. Your buyers might have a 7 motivation, an 8 motivation, a 10 motivation, meaning they're super excited and ready to go. You're going to have to squeeze more people into that 7 to 10 area, and you need to understand and actually show them the value of what the market is and why it's important to be buying or investing. Number three, we have price properties ahead of the market. Do not chase the market. Essential for us to know this. We talked about pricing. I cannot tell you how difficult it can be working with a seller who just hangs on to the value of their home or what they think the value is. And they go, well, my neighbor just sold for 300. Mine should sell for at least 305. And guess what? Their house is really worth 295. If they were listed at 295, they would have sold it. Guess what? A month later, the house is worth 285, but they should have been listed at, now they'll go down to that last month price at 295, and they just keep chasing it down. My cousin did this, unfortunately. He held out of negotiations on a $115,000 home for $1,000. He broke a deal apart. He was at 115, buyer was at 114. Buyer said, I'm out of here, not interested. This was in 2006. That house, then the next year, there was a house listed on a street for $40,000. I am not predicting a 2008 crash. What I am saying, though, is you can see that he was hanging on to a previous market, a previous price, and he still owns that home. Guess what? That house is now worth actually probably 145, 150,000, and he also collected rent over the last decade. We can talk about that at the investing class I do, and why prices typically will always bounce back and market seek their averages. Number 4, stand out from the competition by getting properties in great condition. We already talked about that. Number 5, motivated buyers with a sense of urgency, or motivate buyers with a sense of urgency. Make sure that you are letting them know if it's the house that they dream of and they absolutely love it, now is the time to pull the trigger on it. It's not just about price. It is about the condition, the way they're living in the home, the location, all of these other items. We're on 7, qualify and convert leads quickly. More important than ever before, especially just with technology. When you get that lead, pull the trigger on them. Number 8, catch leads in your web, your internet web. Make sure that you're moving them quickly. We also have a new platform for those of you in the sync group. We're going to be talking more about how essential it is to be converting those leads within 5 minutes or less. Next item, bulletproof your transactions all the way through closing. We're going to have some different opportunities and challenges coming up in this market. Again, there might be a home that lists next door to your house that you just sold to your buyer that's in phenomenal condition and a little bit nicer, and now your buyer is trying to back out of a deal because of a bad home inspection or something. Be aware of that. Find out where the market is and get in. Next item, do more with less: expenses, services, and people. I want everyone to pause on that for a second. Do more with less: expenses, services, and people. Reduce your expenses, figure out a way to leverage out services and people. You can all learn and grow together. Last item, learn alternative financing options for your buyers is going to be a very essential, especially if we have raising interest rates. If you remember back in 78 through 82, all you heard were people doing owner financing. So we may see something like that come up if interest rates go up crazy, but they're not that crazy right now. They're still doing just fine. So yeah, that's everything we've got for today. If you have any questions, you know all how to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out. Beyond that, I'll give it back to Mike.
All right. Thank you, sir. Biggest aha for me from that, Eric, was the conversation around buyer reluctance or an absence of buyer urgency during the last market shift. I think that as the last 24 months could have taught us a lot of bad habits, both on the list side and the buy side, in understanding that, the conversations that we have to have with both those parties over the course in the coming years are going to be different. And if you were an agent or an agent, maybe it's not you particularly, but you may have heard somebody say like, oh gosh, if there were just, if there weren't 30 offers, right, I could get some stuff accepted. Well, yeah, it's hard to compete in a Royal Rumble every weekend for every house. But the expectation that we'll move away from I hear people saying, hey, it was a speed-based market, we're going to move into a skill-based market. I think that that's a misnomer. The speed that technology and the speed that their different resources bring to the table, whether it be title and mortgage, allowing us to close faster and faster and faster, speed never goes away. The market never slows back down. It never stopped being skill-based as much as it is going to require different skills. And so knowing that we're coming into a market that need clear expectations, knowing that we're coming into a market that needs buyer motivation in a different way, that is going to be really powerful. And so if we're scripting and doing dialogues and role playing against that, instead of thinking about, 12 months ago, some people were just, you gotta write over.
Yeah.
That there's a skill to getting people to do that. I don't mean to disqualify that, but that won't be what wins the day in the next 18 to 24 months. So it's it's a big aha. And the other thing is, you know, for those of you who are, you know, if anyone's worried about the shift, just know that of the 25 largest businesses in Northeast Ohio, from a realtor standpoint, 25 largest groups and teams, almost 80% of them existed, right? Those individuals were licensed prior to 2008, 2009, 2010, right? Only about a half a dozen of the top 25 came into the business during or after. I think only 2 have come in after that have grown businesses that rank in the top 25 for Northeast Ohio. So those who stay in the game win the game.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Awesome. Eric, thank you so much for kicking this off. I'm really excited about this series, guys. We're going to hit every single one of those tactics at a very high level with some subject matter experts from throughout our company and folks who have been a part of this in the past, like Eric has. Next week, there will not be a sales meeting. Get your ticket for the summer masterminds, get in the room, listen to Eric, do some expert moderation for a couple of our panels, and look forward to hearing and being there with all of you. So no sales meeting next week. Wednesday, the 13th, summer masterminds, 10 a.m. Mayfield Country Club. Get your ticket right now. All right, guys, have a great day, and we will see you soon. Eric, thank you again so much, my friend.
Thanks, everyone.